Warning: all safety precautions must be strictly followed. This video is to be used as a training aid only and is not designed to show or influence tactics or doctrine. Prior to detonation of either the mine plow or mine roller, the driver must be hatches down and the remainder of the crew must be inside the turret. All other personnel must be at least 10 meters away. The charge can be detonated in garrison as long as all safety precautions are followed. When a combat team commander must conduct a hasty breach of a minefield, he will have to use the resources available to him. Besides the attached engineer assets, the combat team commander has 4 track-width mine plows and 2 mine-breaching rollers within the tank squadron. There could be occasions, such as battle damage or unserviceability, when the rollers or plows may have to be disconnected. The tank crew can employ the Pyro quick disconnect system so that the equipment can be dropped quickly and safely without unnecessarily exposing the crew to enemy fire. The first piece of equipment that we will cover is the Pyro quick disconnect of the track-width mine plow. The crew must be thoroughly familiar with the safe connection and operation of the system, regardless of whether it's used during peacetime training or in an operational theater. The Pyro quick disconnect system consists of the following parts: 2 hollow connecting pins, 2 buckling rods, 2 nylon buffer washers, 2 center sleeves, 2 outside end caps, 2 cartridge housings, 2 pyrotechnical charges, 2 tab washers, and 2 test lamps. Prior to installing the plow control box, the vehicle master switch must be off to prevent an electrical shock and premature firing of the charges. Remove the quick disconnect harness protective covers from the main frame by undoing the nuts and lifting the cover from the recess. During peacetime training, the headlights should remain on the hull to prevent unnecessary damage to the headlight harness. Place the cartridge housing into the inner side of the main frame and then screw on the end cap hand tight. Once the mounting holes are aligned with the towing lugs, install the hollow quick disconnect pins. You must ensure that the larger diameter hole is toward the cartridge housing. Adjust the cartridge housing to ensure that the pins are fully seated. When the pins are properly seated, then the cartridge housing end cap can be tightened using the hook spanner. The lock plates, lock washers, and bolts can then be installed to secure the end cap. Slide the sleeve into the outside end cap and screw the end cap onto the main frame. Tighten the end caps using the hook spanner. Install the lock plates, lock washers, and bolts. Screw the nylon buffer onto the buckling rod until it is fully seated. Slide the buckling rod assembly into the sleeve of the hollow quick disconnect pin. Ensure that the buffer is flush with the end of the sleeve, otherwise the outside end caps will not be properly seated. Remove the locking bolts and jam nuts from the outside end caps. Replace the outside end caps onto the sleeves. Install the locking bolts and jam nuts. You must ensure that the locking bolts and jam nuts are screwed onto the flat section and not the threaded portion of the sleeve. Turn the outside end cap so that the locking bolts face away from the vehicle hull. The dust caps, which are mounted on the clamping arm, should be inserted in the cartridge housing when the impulse cartridge is not installed. The power cable is connected to the receptacle located under the armored scoop. To avoid unnecessary damage to the cable, there is a quick release already incorporated in the locking collar. At this time, the ballistic covers can be installed. The power switch on the control box and the master switch must be off prior to installing the quick disconnect test lamps. Install the quick disconnect test lamps to the harness. Ensure that the test lamps do not light up. Turn the vehicle master switch and the main power switch on. The red power light will light up on the power control box. Activate the test switch on the plow control box. Both green load lights should light up, and the test lamps on the harness should not light up. If the test lamps do light up, then the system isn't functioning properly. This could cause a premature detonation of a cartridge, resulting in a potentially serious injury. Activate the ready switch on the plow control box and observe that the red ready light is lit. The test lamp should not light up. While continuing to hold the ready switch in the up position, activate the fire switch. The quick disconnect test lamps on the harness should light up. If they don't light up, then the system isn't functioning properly. Prior to connecting the impulse charges, ensure that the power switch and master switch are off. This will prevent a premature detonation. If the dust cap was installed in the cartridge housing, then remove it and stow it on the clamping arm. Install the impulse cartridge and the tab washer into the cartridge housing. Insert the washer tab into the hole and then secure the cartridge with a wrench. Remove the plastic cap and shorting device from the cartridge. Do not throw the cap and shorting device away, as they are required to make the cartridge safe. Connect the harness and reinstall the harness protective cover. Once the cartridge is installed, the driver must be hatches down. All other personnel must be outside the danger area prior to turning on the vehicle master switch and the power switch on the plow control box. Activate the test switch and the load indicator light should illuminate. Release the test switch and turn off the main power switch until the system is needed. The driver must be hatches down, and the remainder of the crew must be inside the turret prior to the detonation of the charge. Remember that the danger area not only includes the blast area to the sides in line with the connecting pins, but also includes the area in front of the tank, out to 10 meters. Ensure that the manual release cables are not attached to the hull, as this could prevent the complete disengagement of the plow. The vehicle must come to a complete halt prior to detonating the charge. Serious injury or damage to the tank or plow could result if the system was fired while the vehicle was moving forward. The crew commander will order the driver to reverse slowly and then fire the quick disconnect system. The driver will reverse under direction from the crew commander. The driver will then back up and at the same time activate the ready switch. Once the ready light is illuminated, then activate the fire switch. The lights should not illuminate. The cartridges will detonate and the plow will disengage from the hull. If an armed system must be disconnected manually, then the following steps will be taken. Ensure that the plow control box power switch and the vehicle master switch are off. Remove the harness protective cover from the main frame. Disconnect the harness from the cartridge and install the shorting device and plastic cap. Remove the cartridge and tab washer from the cartridge housing. Once the dust plug has been installed in the cartridge housing, reinstall the quick disconnect harness protective cover. Next, we will cover the mine-breaching roller Pyro quick disconnect. This system will enable a quick disconnect of the push-arm assemblies from the adapter assembly. This system is not as complex to prepare as the track-width mine plow. The adapter and push-arm assemblies are installed following normal installation procedures, but do not attach the suspension cable assemblies until the cartridge housings are connected to the pyrotechnical base. The components of the Pyro quick disconnect system consist of the following parts: 2 impulse cartridges, 2 pistons, 6 O-ring seals, 2 cartridge housings attached to 1 exterior wiring assembly and 1 control box assembly. Prior to installing the cartridges, each cartridge chamber must be physically verified that there is a piston with 3 serviceable seals. Open the chamber cover and remove the plug that seals the back of the cartridge chamber. Visually check to see if the piston is in the chamber. If it is present, then insert a long, thin rod through the opening and lightly tap out the piston. Check that the 3 seals on each piston are not damaged and replace them if necessary. Check both ends of the piston for serviceability. Reinsert each piston with the beveled end up, ensuring that they are properly seated in the chamber. Replace the plug snugly on the back of the chamber to ensure a proper seal. Unscrew the cartridge housings on the wiring harness. Remove the cartridge and spring from the foil wrapper and insert them into the housing. Insert the cartridge housing into the cartridge chamber and screw the cap on tightly. The suspension cable assembly can then be attached to the adapter assembly. Remember, when handling cables, gloves should be worn. Remove the small protective cap on the armored scoop in front of the hull and connect the wiring harness. Connect the cable to the control unit. Insert the control box pin into the hollow steering shaft on the driver's steering bow. The driver must be hatches down, and any other personnel must be outside the danger area prior to the driver turning the vehicle master switch and the control box power switch to the on position. The indicator light should illuminate. After this test, ensure that the control box power switch and the vehicle master switch are turned off until needed. Prior to firing the charges, disengage the lock pin assemblies that secure the hook rods to the tie rods. Do not switch the control box to the on position until you are required to fire the charges. Remember, the vehicle master switch must be on for the control box to function. Once the crew commander has ordered the rollers to be disengaged, switch on the control box. The indicator light will illuminate. The driver must be hatches down, and the remainder of the crew must be inside the turret prior to detonation. All other personnel must be 10 meters away from the tank. The tank must be brought to a complete halt. The driver must select reverse and slowly back up under direction of the crew commander. The crew commander will order the firing of the quick disconnect system. To disengage the right push arm, push the operating switch to the right, and to the left to disengage the left push arm. After the cable assemblies have uncoupled from the adapter assembly, keep reversing until the push arms are completely disengaged from the adapter assembly. To deactivate the armed pyrotechnical system, ensure that the control box power switch and the vehicle master switch are off. Disconnect the wiring harness from the armored scoop. Remove the cartridge housing from the chamber and then remove the cartridge and spring from the housing. Replace them in the protective foil packaging. The Leopard Pyro Quick Disconnect System for the track width mine plow and the mine breaching roller is an effective method of disconnection with minimal risk to the crew. Remember, all safety precautions must be strictly followed to prevent injury or damage.